Quite the past few weeks we've had, Bond fans? Welcome back. I'm of course here to talk about the monumental news that was announced today that the next producers of the Bond franchise will be David Heyman and Amy Pascal. Now, if you've been following the rumor mill recently over the past couple of weeks, or even over a month, I would say, I believe it was Jeff Snyder who first reported this, that Pascal and Heyman were in discussions to take over the franchise. But it was my understanding that because the deal with Barbara and Michael hasn't technically finalized yet, they would be making any announcements anytime soon, but here we are. I was actually planning on making a video on this and a few other rumors, which I will talk about still. And out of nowhere, this announcement happens. And it is very indicative of how Amazon are seemingly treating the franchise. Obviously, they want to get things moving as fast as they can. That's totally understandable. But this seems to be a smart choice for me. Now, admittedly, I'm not that familiar with Pascal and Heyman's works. Heyman, of course, is most known for Harry Potter, which I have not seen, admittedly, but he has produced a lot of films which I love, particularly Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is one of my favorite films of all time. He also produced Gravity, which will be important. I'll discuss it later on. He produced Wonka, the Paddington series, which is beloved. So he's got a very good resume for sure. And as far as Pascal goes, she's a bit of a controversial figure, I would say, at least based on the research that I've done. She stepped down, or as it was later revealed, she was fired from Sony after some emails of hers got leaked in the big Sony leak that involved Spectre back in 2014. She made some racist comments. I will not dive into that, but I'm not going to use those to judge her quality as a producer because it's more of a judgment of her quality as a person. I mean, I don't know the woman, but as far as a producer goes, she has had a very successful track record. I mean, she produced the Spider-Man films, the new ones for Marvel, I guess through Sony. No, she doesn't work for Sony anymore. Scratch that. Her relation to it doesn't matter, but she also has a very successful history. So these are two titans of Hollywood production, of Hollywood producers, really, that we have coming in. So clearly Amazon want people that have a lot of experience, and that's a smart thing to do as far as I'm concerned. And it's fascinating that they want a man and a woman, just like Michael and Barbara. We now have the same dynamic going on. Obviously, the relationship isn't the same because Barbara and Michael were step siblings, and they had the connection with their shared father. No, that's not true. Their shared mother. So this dynamic is different, but it's in some ways similar, and it is nice to know that we have. I mean, it's amazing to know that we have producers already aligned, and I can't believe that it's been just over a month since the announcement of Amazon's creative takeover was happening, and yet we already have the producers. I have a feeling that we will probably be getting a director announcement relatively soon too, probably the next couple of weeks, because, well, a few people, Jeff Snyder, of course. Jeff Snyder, when he first, and by the way, I have no affiliation with him. I follow his stuff just because I follow every single bit of Bond, leaks, rumors, whatever. But Jeff Snyder did report, when he first reported this news about Pascal, this rumor about Pascal and Heyman, he also reported that Heyman wanted to bring aboard Alfonso Cuarón as director for the film. And as the Heyman rumor has since come true, I'd say there's a possibility that the Cuarón rumor will also come true. Of course, they worked together on Gravity, which was a huge successful film, Oscar winner, I'm pretty sure. And I feel like if that is true and the rumors of Cuarón are true, we'll probably get that announcement of him directing relatively soon. I think that's the next thing they will announce. And he seems like the kind of director that does fit with Bond. He's kind of reminds me of like a Sam Mendes pick, where he's not associated with big franchise films. He makes what he wants to make, but he makes very successful films. So to me, he would fit with Bond, and allegedly he has already pitched an idea for a reboot of the franchise, which hopefully isn't too radical. It seems to me, and based on what Amazon said in this press release, this is a much smarter, much better delivered bit of information than the last announcement, because in this, Amazon are talking about how they're really going to try to make smart creative decisions about this, and they want to really utilize and learn from history and what Barbara and Michael did. And these producers are a clear, obvious, or exemplify that to me. And also the wording of this press release today, it says Heyman and Pascal will produce the upcoming James Bond film. It doesn't say it will produce the James Bond franchise going forward. It just specifically says one film. And from what I understand, this deal is for only one film, which means Amazon is maybe leaving the door open for changes going on, or changes happening in the future, or they just want to feel around first and maybe get this first film done and then see where it takes them from there. But it also tells me that their main priority is making a movie, not creating a cinematic universe, which is important to me, important to most Bond fans, I think, that we get a movie first and foremost. And then they can maybe experiment with spin-offs. I'd rather they didn't, but yes, a movie. They need to prove themselves worthy of the franchise, and doing that is putting all their eggs in one basket and making the best movie they can. And I have a feeling that putting huge players like Pascal and Heyman in the producing spot is a good idea. And like I said, I can't believe this news is happening so fast. We went almost 4 years with nothing happening to, in less than a month, or just over a month, two of the biggest announcements in Bond history, potentially. It's really quite crazy. But I have one more bit of rumor that I want to talk about before I wrap up this video. It's a quick one. I just want to touch on the news and acknowledge it. But the rumor that the sun, of course, is the sun, humongous grain of the world's biggest grain of salt should be taken with this rumor.
Salt.
That the film is being fast-tracked with the hope for a late 2027 release. As far as it being fast-tracked, it does seem like Amazon is moving things forward as quickly as they can. Fine. A late 2027 release? Feasible. Totally. If things are moving along quickly, they have producers, director gets on, writers. Maybe, I think, according to the World of Real article about the Alfonso Cuarón rumor, they already have writers in place, possibly. If that's the case, a late 2027 release is definitely doable. But this rumor also includes that the budget will be around £250 million, which is a lot of money. I think that might be the largest budget for a Bond film. I know up until this point, I believe the largest budget was Spectre, and that still blows my mind, because what about Spectre deserved that kind of budget? Was it just because they spent so much money rewriting the movie and making poor creative choices? They had to keep scrapping things and doing new things, building new sets, shooting new scenes. I don't know. But the budget for Bond, Bond should have a big budget. It's a massive event film. It should have a big budget. Amazon knows this. And I think as every day goes by and the more I think about it, the more I am sort of at ease with what Amazon is doing. There's still plenty of time for them to mess it up. They could screw up big time. I don't know specifically how, but of course they could. But I'm not going to throw them under the bus right out the gate. I was more concerned with the last announcement. Now that we have the producers in place, that always should have been their first step, and it was. So that's, as far as I'm concerned, they're one for one. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to the announcement of the really important creative people, because that's what's really going to impact my excitement for the film. For me, the most exciting thing is the fact that we're going to have new writers. I mean, like, if they hire Purvis and Wade, I'm going to lose my shit. But that to me is really exciting, because I want a fresh take on Bond. I don't want them to totally change Bond, but I want some new blood. I would rather that Barbara and Michael were still involved, because they obviously would ground us a bit better. But I have no reason to think that Pascal and Heyman can handle this. And from what I understand, Pascal and Broccoli were on good working terms when Pascal was involved in the distribution of Casino, Quantum, and Skyfall, I believe. So that's good. So I do have the theory that Barbara was maybe told of who was going to be. Maybe that was a bit what convinced her to sell, was that she was informed that Pascal was going to be coming on board. At least they're trying to get her on board. So maybe that comforted her a bit, which would make sense, especially if she trusts Pascal. But yeah, obviously, like I said, Pascal is a bit controversial. I don't know but I don't think we should use that as judgment of if she should be in charge of the Bond film, or of the next Bond film, or not. Because clearly she knows what she's doing. She's a professional, and so is Heyman. I'm starting to get a little excited, I have to admit. But like I said, when the real creatives are announced, the more specific creative people are announced, that's when I'll start getting excited, assuming they're people that excite me. So as always, let me know what you think about this news. We have as every day goes by, it seems like we have more and more to talk about, to speculate about. Things are coming at us so quick after sitting dormant for 4 years. All of a sudden, we're getting just tons of news, and the Bond community feels like it's been given a shot in the arm, and I love it. Let's get these conversations going. Tell me what you think about the news, about what do you think the next announcement will be. If it's Alfonso Cuarón directing, would you be excited for that? What do you think about Heyman and Pascal producing? Get the conversation going as always. If you enjoyed the video, you know what to do, and I will see you next time.